High school ba yan? High school?
Parang international school.
Malaki yan. Malaki siya. Yung mga school na dito na sa looban, no? Bira lang yung nasa labas.
Saan tayo dito dadaan? Gusto mo ng ano? Hash brown. Hashtag gusto mo?
Hashtag ano?
Hashtag McDonald's.
Ano yan? Hashtag love ko to eh.
Yung ano? Yung
Si Raymond at saka si Kenneth.
restaurant na merong clown. McDonald's. Palokohan yun. Napanggo. I see you. Dramatic.
Typical story.
Dramatic.
Though it happens, pero normal na yung mga story.
Pang ano siya eh. Pang mahalaan mo kaya.
Palagi kang ganun sa MK.
Gusto mo ka malamig na. Hindi ako nag-aircon.
Malamig naman kasi napipil ko na pag patay-patay na ako ng
Easy.
matagal na ngayon patay ko eh. Papalit na ng kumot.
Nang?
Kumot. Kasi may heater naman ako.
Heater ba yung aircon mo?
May heater ba?
Ah, yung ano? Ay, meron akong heater. 2 heater ko ga. Naiiwan ko doon sa balkon.
Hindi wala ka ng heater. Ganun lang.
Wala.
Pa-November na, di ba? Ulan lang to sa beat, wala na to.
Lamig na.
Magaling yung ulan yun. Mag-hairstore muna, wala.
Tapos, anong pambaba? Sapatos? Ano? Brazil?
Ito,
O walang sapatos, walang suot.
hindi naman kahit ano ba? Wala ka naman maayos sa sapat. Sinilas eh.
Mag-boots ako.
Boots?
Shirts tapos nakalina na.
Ano boots? Eh!
Tapos may baton.
Hindi ko nga naman na yung aking. Search ko lang.
Pwedeng ano, yung meron. Pwede ka mag shoes. Ano bang
Pinakasandala nga.
mahaba ba yun sa'yo?
Teka dito. makapante ako kasi kayo lang naman. Okay lang sa akin. Pero kung nandun yung iba sila, kasi ganyan, sila, ano, ay di, usot ng gano'n ay.
Client si ate. Pag may client si ate, sa akin binabato.
Ha?
Pag may client si ate, sa akin binabato.
Bakit?
Eh, ako may gamit.
Mabuti. Naman na yata. Ano lang tayo lang naman yun. Tapos yun na yung swimming pool. So, magdala nga ng panligo.
Oy! Lamig na!
Hindi, sa loob!
Ang loob.
Yung swimming pool, hindi sa labas, sa loob.
Kaya nga, malamig na. Mas malamig. Malamig kasi indoor swimming pool. Malamig.
Mas malamig yung outdoor guys, yung last time.
Oo.
Uy, pero yung in fairness sa yung last time, medyo malamig na ba yung paggabi?
Dito nga ako nakakita ng ibang swimming pool eh. Swimming pool may ano, may aircon. Diba pag indoor yung swimming pool may aircon.
Ako na masyado bumalap pagkano. Gala pa yata sila eh.
Friday? Pahinga din. Kasi sana kung makakatulog ka dun, syempre magbuhuntahan kayo dun.
Oo, hindi naman makakatulog doon ka kasi tawag nito.
Kaya nga gathering yun eh.
Actually, yung last year, umuwi kayo, huwi na rin kami ka.
Oo, maaga kami uwi.
Umuwi na kayo? Umuwi na rin kami kasi parang wala namang maliligo. Tapos
Wala naman yata naligo.
si...
Di ba may kasama dun si Leia dati?
si Lea, tsaka... Umuwi na
Yung
rin.
ba yung ano? Yung pa rin yung
Yun?
Joan?
Iba yun? Ngayon, that time na lang yung nakilala. Sabi ko magaling-galingan. Ngayon na kayo nakilala na rin siguro. Hindi, dito naman.
Hindi naman kilala yung mga yun.
Update lang.
Hindi naman siya nagtatatambay sa compound.
Sa update ka pag mahilig ka sa Snapchat. Dapat.
Pag
Ewan ko kasi, ano kasi yan ka? Pag mahilig ka kasi mag-chat, dapat mahilig ka mag-entertain, ma-set updates ng mga buhay mo, mag-picture ka sa sarili mo. Lahat, siguro, matulog ka naman.
wala ka pang picture ng ano. Yung mga ano ba? Yung mga halimbawa, malayo ka, pero ikaw yung subject. Yung mga ganun picture, wala ka pang ganun picture.
Meron naman. Pero, ano ba naman?
Hindi, like for example, yung may mga composition.
May?
May composition, halimbawa, nasa pintuan ka tapos isang
Ah,
bahay, buong bahay.
sila ba picture nun? Sila Shell?
Oo.
Parang kwenta nga sa Shell mag sa ano na eh, picturean na eh. Puro ano na eh. Puro sila lang. Tira
Tsaka
lang yung
puro
ano.
mukha, bakit kayo ganun? Puro mukha, pipicturean. Di ba nagsasama sa mukha niyo na yan eh.
Eh kasi mukha yung pinakamadaling picturean ka. Tsaka baka yung assets. Eh di, isa kasi dapat magaling din mag-picture yung photographer mo pa. Kahit cellphone lang ba, marunong mag-angle, ganyan. Sila sir, meron sila mga picture na mga full body nila pag naglalakad kami. Na ako na. Tuluoy. Kaya minsan, huwag na nga, Shell. Ikaw nga na, picture mo ako ng full body. Hindi nila na, masyado natatama ka. Yung ano, yung kumain tayo ng ano, sa Saraya. Yung mga shot na gano'n, hindi yan. Hindi yan.
Hindi ko wala naisip sa'yo. Yung mga picture mo. Dito, yung
Tapos na.
makulay. Send ko ba sa'yo? I-airdrop mo
dito lang nga, dito lang station.
Saan?
So, Friday na lang tayo magbunta ka, basta.
Friday? Saan ang station?
So, dito ba daw? Aakyat. Wala doon sa kabila.
Ah, sarado yung kabila? Yung,
Daw!
yung nakaharap sa inyo? Ano, paano punta dyan?
Mag-shuttle, pumunta din sa kabila.
Sa baba?
Doon.
Sa loob? Yung parkingan ng mga bus? Ano ba?
Kaya doon ka sa kabila si dito ka sa daanan.
Ayun doon, no?
U-turn, tas
Ibig sabihin, pag kotse ka, hindi ka makapunta. Kasi yung mga bus doon, yung mga private hindi nakakapasok doon eh. Bus
nga
lang.
kasi di ba may inaayos na na. Huh?
Yun lang yung pasukan mo, di ba may elevator pa, escalator pa nga hagdan doon eh.
Kaya naman.
Ang gagawin ko sa bata ay magpapagawa ng salamin. Yun yung iniisip ko nung nakaraan. Sabi ko, ano ang gagawin ko? Diba sabi ko, papagawa ko nung bag, nung ano, walang kasi. Mura lang naman yung bag ka.
Okay lang naman yun. Sige, magyan lang tayo. Gusto ko din kumain nung yung noodles niya. Papayos tayo ng fries. Eh, magdating naman tayo eh. Di nakapulang din naman tayo.
Yeah.
Wala ka namang nakasuffer, di ba?
Wala.
Mga anong oras kayo?
Sa hapon. Ay, kaya ano?
Walang tao ngayon, katapusan na. Ano yan talaga? 20 na.
Wala na pera.
Next ano na yan? Next week.
Next Friday.
Next Friday. Yan yung mga ayaw kong pumunta. Next Friday, first week at saka second.
Yung gustong puntahan nila Joy.
Ha?
Yung mga ganun. Sa Mayan. Yun o, dyan yung daan.
Pinaka ayaw kong pare-pareho lang naman. Tsaka yung pagkain ko ng next month pa yun.
Ang dami ba? Ngayon, doon. Doon yung station na sabi mo. Pag kasi private ka, ito yung parking. Kaya lang tinan mo siya ha. Meron siyang ganun, hindi ko alam kung may bayad ang sasakyan pag park mo. Ayun. Arabi Station Parking.
Ito lang ako dalawang feeling.
Ay, hindi. Ikikita mo ba dyan? Siguro yung mga ganun may nasa loob ng establishment. Pero yung ganyan, titikita mo. Yeah, ito cash pwede yan dyan.
O dito ba?
Buti nga wala pa ditong parking fee. Ay, pay parking wala pa. Doon sa, halos lahat na. Bagay, kaya lang naman. 345. Parang 375 pa.
For ilang oras?
1 hour.
Anong oras? Mahal pa rin.
Mahal talaga. Tapos, pag lumampas ka ng 1 hour, another 345, 375 ulit. Ganun sila dito. Sa airport nga eh. Sa airport, gulat na gulat ako.
Parang gulat.
10.15.
Ano? Oh, eh.
10.15 yung babayaran. Tapos naging 20. Alam mo kung bakit? Naglakad ako doon sa bayaran. Eh, yung machine sira. So, hindi ako makapagbayad doon. Alam mo yung paglalakad ko, inabot ako ng mga 5 minutes. So, lumampas ako ng ng 7 minutes. So, another hour yung binayaran ko.
Okay. Ika. Bye. Yung ipro ko nga.
Ayo, nasinghot ko yung tenga mo. Tutulog ba? Ano ko mamaya ha?
Mga anong oras?
Pag out ko siguro. Doon ko dala
Sige. Tingnan ko kung ano. Diyan ako kung free ako, ha?
Bye.
Soundtrack with ad-free music listening and offline downloads on Spotify Premium. Tap the banner to learn more.
Assalamualaikum. Sir.
Gaslighting by Stephanie Sarkis. Spotting gaslighters. For gaslighters, everything they do is about gaining power over others and filling their endless pit of neediness. Stephanie Sarkis. Daniel thought he was overreacting when his girlfriend screamed at the restaurant server for bringing the wrong meal. But this wasn't an isolated incident. It was part of a pattern that revealed something much darker about her character. This behavior exemplifies gaslighting, and Daniel's girlfriend isn't unique. Gaslighters share distinct traits that create predictable patterns of control. These behaviors aren't occasional bad days, but steady strategies designed to gain power over others. Real apologies never come from gaslighters. Rather than taking responsibility, they shift the blame back to you. One woman shared how her cheating partner said, "I'm sorry I cheated, but if you were a better wife,
I wouldn't have looked for love elsewhere. Such responses make you feel heard while placing fault on you. Communication becomes a weapon through two favorite tactics, triangulation and splitting. Triangulation is avoiding direct conversation by communicating through others. A gaslighting boss might tell your coworker, "I'm letting James go," instead of speaking to James directly. Sometimes it's subtle, saying, "I really wish Sally would stop calling me," hoping someone passes the message along. Other times, it's direct manipulation, like when one woman's mother-in-law sent messages through her husband about her parenting instead of talking to her face-to-face. Splitting involves pitting people against each other by spreading lies or creating conflicts. Gaslighters get a power rush from watching fights they started from the sidelines. They might tell you that a mutual friend said something cruel about you, knowing it will damage that relationship and draw you closer to them. One mother experienced this when her ex claimed their son wanted her to back off. When she called her son directly, he had no concerns at all. The ex was lying to create drama. The most dangerous aspect is the gradual erosion. Relationships start feeling too good to be true because they are. After initial praise comes slow, steady criticism. Like a frog in slowly heating water, you don't miss the danger until you're already burned. Eventually, you're believing obvious lies you would never have accepted initially. Other warning signs include how they treat people with less power. Gaslighters bark orders at restaurant staff or tease children cruelly, not playfully. They brag endlessly about old accomplishments, like being class president 20 years ago, expecting excitement every time. Their compliments sting too. One woman's partner said her dinner was really good, then added he was glad he finally taught her how to cook. These complisalts feel good briefly before the insult hits. Recognizing these patterns is the first step toward protecting yourself. Distance and emotional control work best, since gaslighters feed on your reactions. Staying calm and unresponsive often or drastically limit interaction when you can't. Never let them see they've upset you. Their whole payoff comes from knowing they got under your skin. Resist fighting back with their own tactics, as this only leads to revenge and risks making you like them. Dangerous relationships. If you are in a relationship with a gaslighter, you need to end it. It is an abusive relationship, and it will not improve. You need to get out. Stephanie Sarkis. On their first date, Jamie told Josie, "I know this is really early to say something like this, but I think we could be together for a long time." He showered her with gifts and trips, discussing marriage and kids within their first week of dating. Josie felt high from his attention, saying, "I had never been treated with so much love. I was put up on a pedestal." This overwhelming romance is love bombing, the first trick gaslighters use. It's far more intense than normal dating excitement, designed to make you feel like you can't live without them. The dependency feels real, but it's manufactured. Jamie's behavior wasn't genuine affection. It was all part of a calculated plan to hook Josie completely. After months of bliss, Jamie began hoovering. This is what a gaslighter does when they feel you're pulling away. They suck you back in, like a vacuum cleaner. When Josie followed her sister's advice and finally stopped contacting him, he sucked her right back into his life. After 2 weeks of silence, he texted, "Your bike is here." When Josie responded, "Are you okay? Where are you?" she got more silence. After crying and texting, "I just don't understand anymore." Jamie appeared at her door with her bike and flowers. He discussed moving in together, acting like nothing had happened at all. This sucking you back in happens when gaslighters fear abandonment. They offer just enough hope to keep you hanging on with promises that never materialize. But Jamie's cruelest weapon was stonewalling. He would completely ignore Josie without explanation, refusing to return calls or texts. She would rack her brain trying to figure out what she'd done wrong, while he disappeared for weeks. This silent treatment devastated her, which was exactly his goal. Gaslighters thrive knowing their behavior causes pain. Your suffering feeds their need for control. Looking back, Josie recognized early warning signs. Jamie had severed ties with his siblings years earlier and constantly blamed coworkers for his lack of promotions. He increasingly criticized Josie, especially about her family. Other victims share similar stories. One woman's cheating partner declared, "If you were a better wife, I wouldn't have looked for love elsewhere." Another man caught his partner having affairs, but she denied everything and blamed him instead. Breaking free requires recognizing that the wonderful person you fell for never existed. That initial charm was pure performance, designed to create dependency before the real abuse began. Complete contact elimination is essential. Block calls, texts, and social media. Avoid places they usually visit, and beware of flying monkeys, friends who unknowingly deliver guilt messages like, "Give him another chance." Gaslighters excel at making you believe survival without them is impossible. But this dependency is manufactured, not genuine love. As you rebuild, reconnect with activities they called silly and people they turned you against. You'll rediscover yourself quickly. Remember, you don't need a reason to end any relationship, and a civil breakup with a gaslighter is nearly impossible. It will hurt, but you will recover. Workplace bullies. Gaslighters can make even the least stressful of jobs into a total nightmare. Stephanie Sarkis. One was always the backup when his coworker refused to answer calls during his on-call shifts. Clients would call Juan instead, forcing him to handle work that wasn't his responsibility. When Juan complained to his bosses, nothing changed. His coworker had damaging info about the boss and used it as protection. This shows how workplace gaslighters work differently from relationship bullies. At work, they destroy careers and companies through sneaky plans. They steal credit for your hard work, then tell the boss you're lazy while claiming they had to cover for your incompetence. When caught doing harmful things, they don't apologize or change. They get worse and increase their negative behavior. Workplace gaslighters use specific tricks to control and hurt you. They give fake compliments, make fun of you in front of coworkers, and know exactly how to hit your weak spots. They spread rumors about you while denying it when you confront them. Some give you the wrong meeting times and dates to mess up your work. Others pressure you to do unethical things and then use your refusal against you later. Sexual harassment often becomes another weapon in their arsenal. Some brush against you accidentally while saying, "Excuse me," making it look innocent to observers. Others engage in inappropriate staring and watching, especially when fewer people are around. Gaslighting bosses create special problems because they control your job. They watch you way more than other employees and may team up with other bosses to create fake performance issues. One employee loved their job and was good at it, but their bosses were setting up situations where it looked like they weren't doing their job. The bosses would tell higher-ups that the employee refused to work on things when they had never even discussed it with the employee. During performance reviews, they give unfair ratings despite proof of your good work. To protect yourself, you need to write things down and have witnesses. Never meet alone with a workplace gaslighter. Always have someone else there or reschedule the meeting. Keep detailed notes about every interaction, including dates, times, people present, and exact quotes. Store this info on your phone or computer, not work equipment. Meet with your boss weekly to discuss projects and progress, creating a paper trail of your actual work. At office parties, don't drink alcohol. Gaslighters will use any sloppy behavior against you, and you might be tempted to tell them off, which never ends well. Sometimes the best solution is to change jobs. While it feels like the gaslighter wins, you actually win by getting yourself out of a toxic place. If you followed company rules and reported unwanted behavior, and the gaslighter still works there, you likely work in a toxic culture that won't change. Getting out protects your career and mental health better than staying and suffering. Remember, gaslighters' behavior only gets more harmful over time. When family hurts. You may have conflicting feelings about gaslighters in your family. You want to get away from them as far as possible, but you feel a sense of guilt for not wanting to be around them. Stephanie Sarkis. 20-year-old Liam watches his stepdad make mean comments to his mother, then flat out deny ever saying them moments later. When Liam tries to back up his mom by saying what he just heard, she turns on him instead, saying he hates his stepdad and is trying to break up their marriage. This situation, where the victim defends their abuser against their own helper, happens in many homes where family gaslighters twist reality and turn loved ones against each other. Liam's story shows why family gaslighters are so hard to deal with. Unlike bad coworkers or friends, you can't just quit. These people show up at every birthday, holiday, and family get-together. They know all your fears, weak spots, and what buttons to push to set you off. With this inside info, family gaslighters plan their attacks. Happy times become easy targets because joy makes them lose control. 9-year-old James sat at Thanksgiving dinner while his father told all their relatives what a pain in the ass he was and how he cried for no reason. James could see the sorry looks around the table, but knew fighting back wouldn't help. Family parties turn into danger zones where your most embarrassing childhood stories get shared with new boyfriends, or private problems become dinner conversations. Fight back, and you're told you can't take a joke. No-win situations. Teenage Jaleesa watched her mother always criticize her for getting pudgy, then bake fresh brownies and leave them on the kitchen counter on purpose. Eat them and feel bad about her weight, or skip them and feel left out while smelling them all day. Either choice brought shame. These no-win games show a harsh truth. Gaslighting parents see their kids' wins as threats. Take Lonnie, for example. After years of trying to get pregnant, she finally had good news and excitedly told her mother, who had always asked about grandchildren. Her mother's first response? "Don't expect me to babysit." Getting out of this mess starts with knowing that these people won't change, and arguing with them only makes things worse. Remember, you don't have to explain your choices to anyone. Many people find that holidays without mean relatives can be happy and relaxing. But when you have to attend family events, try to think of yourself like someone watching a weird TV show. It helps you not get so upset. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to said something about you today, or straight tell you, Sarah said you're a bad parent. Most of the time, they're lying to create a mess and watch the fireworks. Your best response should be a flat "oh" or "okay." Don't take the bait. It only feeds their need for control. These people are terrible gossips who love sharing bad news about others, but vanish when you have something good to celebrate. Even worse, you need to watch out for friends who get too friendly with your partner. One woman's husband showed her a message from her friend asking for help with a small household problem while she was away, complete with a playful emoji. The husband responded with some repair contacts, but after that, the friend never reached out again. These aren't innocent favors. They're attempts to get closer and create emotional distance between you and your partner. They'll act like they understand your partner better than you do. If something about how they behave around your significant other feels off, trust your instincts. While you can cut ties with toxic friends, the situation gets harder with neighbors since you can't just block them and walk away. They might spread rumors, cross property lines, call the police over minor things, or label you an irresponsible owner if your dog pees in their yard. Real friends cheer for your wins and help you during tough times. They don't disappear when you're happy or show up only when you're miserable. You deserve relationships that add happiness to your life, not people who treat your pain like entertainment. If you spot red flags, start pulling back slowly. Act bored when they try to stir up drama. Stop sharing personal info and don't loan them anything. You'll never get it back. The best way to end things is to become so uninteresting that they move on to their next victim. Never let them babysit your kids or pets. They'll forget about food allergies and house rules, or worse. Trust your instincts when something feels off. Document any harassment, and don't be afraid to get legal help if needed. Life's too short to waste on fake friends who see you as their entertainment. Check yourself first. If you discover that you have, in fact, gaslighted someone, part of the healing process is to apologize to the friend or family member you have hurt. Stephanie Sarkis. If you're worried you might be a gaslighter, you probably aren't one. Real gaslighters think everyone else has the problem, not them. They'd never question their own behavior or try to improve themselves. But take an honest look at your patterns. Do you lie often, even when there's no real reason to? Are you indirect about your needs, then frustrated when people can't figure out what you want? Maybe friends and family have mentioned that your tone sounds sarcastic or rough, or you have a short temper that surprises even you. If you see people as mostly selfish and out for themselves, or if you try to manipulate others into doing things instead of just asking directly, you might have picked up what experts call fleas, problematic behaviors learned from difficult situations. These behaviors often come from growing up with gaslighting parents or living in chaotic homes where manipulation became a survival skill. Maybe you learned to lie about minor things because your parent exploded over everything. Perhaps you developed passive-aggressive habits because direct communication felt dangerous. The difference between having some bad habits and being a full gaslighter is huge. True gaslighters use manipulation in every area of their lives: work, home, and social situations. If you only act this way under stress or with certain people, you're likely dealing with learned survival behaviors, not a personality disorder. Learning healthy communication starts with understanding the difference between passive, aggressive, and assertive styles. Passive means saying, "Sure, borrow a special sweater," when you really don't want to lend it. Aggressive means snapping, "Hell no, you'd look ugly in it anyway." Passive-aggressive means saying yes, but then forgetting to return their calls later. Assertive communication, the healthiest option, simply states, "I'm sorry, I don't loan out that sweater," without drama or meanness. Pay attention to your body language too. Crossing your arms over your chest sends the message, "I'm fed up," or "I'm not interested." An open posture with uncrossed arms and legs shows you're willing to listen and work together. Also, watch your voice tone. It accounts for a big part of your message and tends to get louder when you're upset. If you've hurt someone with your behavior, a real apology matters. Don't say, "I'm sorry you got upset about my yelling." That puts the blame on them. Instead, try, "I'm sorry I yelled at you. It was hurtful and wrong." You're owning the behavior, acknowledging the damage, and showing you're committed to change. Working on yourself means facing uncomfortable truths about how you communicate and treat others. But recognizing the problem is the biggest step toward becoming someone who builds relationships instead of damaging them. Wrapping up. Understanding gaslighters means knowing that their behavior follows the same patterns in all relationships. Whether it's a romantic partner who showers you with love and then disappears, a boss who takes credit for your work, or a family member who ruins every holiday. These people all want the same thing: power and control over others. Gaslighters don't act like normal people having bad days. They use planned tricks to mess with your head. They start relationships being super charming, then slowly destroy your confidence through put-downs and mind games. They turn people against each other, spread lies to create drama, and always blame you when you call them out. Most importantly, they never really apologize or change how they act. Your best protection is knowing what to look for and keeping your emotions in check. Write down their bad behavior, especially at work. Don't fall for it when they try to start fights or create chaos. Keep your business private, since they'll use anything against you later. When you can, cut them off completely. These relationships don't improve over time. They only get worse. For family members you can't avoid, keep visits short and protect your peace by thinking of their behavior like watching a weird TV show instead of taking it personally. Never leave kids or pets alone with gaslighters, and don't expect other family members to understand why you need boundaries. If you see some of these behaviors in yourself, work on learning better communication using I feel statements and apologizing when you've hurt someone. Real change takes effort, but it's possible when you truly want to improve yourself. Remember, you deserve relationships that make you happy, not drain your energy. Life gets much more peaceful when you stop accepting manipulation as normal and surround yourself with people who care about you.
We hope you enjoyed this read. If it made you think or smile, consider leaving us a rating and sharing your thoughts. Your input helps us make the app even better. Excited for more? Test your knowledge with a quiz and dive into your next title. Up next, another summary we think you'd like. To Great by Jim Collins. The mystery of good to great. The vast majority of companies never become great precisely because the vast majority become quite good, and that is their main problem. Jim Collins. A fateful dinner with business executives in 1996 pushed Jim Collins to launch a 5-year quest to understand why some companies break through while most stay stuck in mediocrity. The spark came when a McKinsey director challenged him. Earlier research had focused on businesses that were always strong, but what about the merely average ones? Could they ever become something more? To dig in, Collins and his research team spent months combing through decades of financial data. They hunted for companies that had long been unremarkable, but then suddenly soared, beating the market at least threefold over the next 15 years. The time frame was chosen for a reason. 15 years is long enough to weed out lucky breaks or one-hit wonders. From the Fortune 500, they eventually narrowed down a small set of companies that had made the leap. Walgreens is one of the most striking examples. For 40 years, it drifted along as a middle-of-the-pack player. Then, in the mid-70s, it took off. Over the next quarter century, Walgreens giants like Intel, GE, and Coca-Cola in stock performance. Of course, the big question was why. To answer it, the researchers gathered more than 6,000 articles, ran countless analyses, and conducted in-depth interviews with executives. They compared these winners with rivals that never quite pulled ahead or couldn't hold on to their success. What they found was surprising, and it wasn't what most people assume drives long-lasting excellence. Level 5 leadership. The good to great leaders never wanted to become larger-than-life heroes. They were seemingly ordinary people, quietly producing extraordinary results. Jim Collins. In 1971, Kimberly-Clark put a quiet in-house lawyer, Darwin Smith, in charge. The paper company, best known for its mills and commodity products, had been falling behind. Its stock had trailed the market for 20 years. and Smith didn't look like anyone's idea of a corporate savior. A board member even reminded him he wasn't exactly qualified for the role. For the next 2 decades, Smith proved everyone wrong. Under his leadership, Kimberly-Clark beat giants like Procter & Gamble and outperformed household names such as Coca-Cola and General Electric. Yet Smith never sought the spotlight. He preferred spending vacations on his Wisconsin farm, tinkering on machinery, far removed from the image of a flashy CEO. What made him special was a mix of humility and fierce determination. Smith never saw the company's success as his personal triumph. He once summed it up by saying he had simply never stopped trying to become qualified for the job. But that modest outlook didn't prevent him from making bold moves. Soon after taking charge, Smith made the radical decision to sell the company's traditional paper mills and pour resources into consumer brands. Analysts called it reckless. Wall Street downgraded the stock. Smith never flinched. 25 years later, Kimberly-Clark owned Scott Paper and beat Procter & Gamble in 6 of 8 categories. That's the essence of what researchers later called Level 5 leadership. While leadership levels 1 through 4 are defined by varying degrees of competency, Level 5 leaders are distinguished by a paradoxical blend of humility and ferocious resolve, working more like plow horses than show horses. And many have been shaped by tough life experiences. Smith battled cancer, while others grew up poor or faced setbacks that hardened their determination. Leadership that transforms organizations isn't loud or flashy. It's grounded, disciplined, and often born from hardship. And when combined with humility, it fuels greatness that lasts. Put people first. The main point is to first get the right people on the bus and the wrong people off the bus before you figure out where to drive it. Jim Collins. When good to great leaders set out to spark real change, they didn't begin by drawing up grand strategies or chasing bold visions. They focused on people. If you start with who, you can adapt to any what. Think of it as filling a bus. First, get the right people on board, the wrong ones off, and make sure everyone's in the right seat. Once that's done, deciding where to drive becomes easier. Wells Fargo's turnaround in the 1970s is a clear example. CEO Dick Cooley made no claims about predicting the future of banking, but he filled the company with an endless stream of top talent. Warren Buffett later called it the best management team in the industry. That depth of talent helped the company adapt to deregulation, rising competition, and the transformation of consumer banking. Changes that left many stumbling. When it comes to building teams, researchers found 3 practical rules you can use. First, don't rush hiring. Hold out until you find the right fit, even if it means slowing growth. Second, if someone isn't right for their role, make a change. See if they fit better elsewhere. And if not, part ways. Third, put your best people on the biggest opportunities, not the biggest problems. Philip Morris did this by moving star executive George Weissman from the thriving domestic business to the tiny overseas unit. Under Weissman's watch, Marlboro became the top-selling cigarette in the world. The right team makes every plan stronger. Put people first, and strategy will follow. The hedgehog concept. It soon became abundantly clear that all the good-to-great companies obtained a very simple concept that they used as a frame of reference for all their decisions. And this understanding coincided with breakthrough results. Jim Collins. When it comes to strategy, Collins and his research team found that the good-to-great companies gained clarity by asking 3 simple questions. What can we be the best in the world at? What drives our economic engine? And what are we deeply passionate about? The overlap of those 3 circles became their hedgehog concept, a simple truth that guided every choice. To explain it, the research team borrowed a parable. A fox attempts to catch a hedgehog with endless tricks, but the hedgehog has one move, rolling into a ball of spikes, and it works every time. Focus on the one thing you can master and block out distractions. Walgreens nailed its hedgehog concept. It was straightforward. Create the most convenient drugstores measured by profit per customer visit. Once that became clear, every action followed. They shut down profitable but less than perfect locations to move to corner lots, pioneered drive-through pharmacies, and filled cities with tightly clustered stores. In San Francisco, 9 stores operated within a mile. That consistency produced stock returns 15 times greater than the market. Abbott Laboratories did something similar. After realizing it would never surpass Merck in pharmaceutical research, Abbott stopped pretending. It shifted focus to cost-effective healthcare products, an area it could actually dominate. As a result, Abbott crushed its rival Upjohn over the following decade and a half. To discover your hedgehog concept, find that 3-circle overlap for your own work or team. Don't just dream about being the best. Identify where passion, economics, and real potential meet and pour your energy there. Culture over control. Avoid bureaucracy and hierarchy and instead create a culture of discipline. Jim Collins. Many startups begin with bold moves, imagination, and the thrill of building something from nothing. But as they grow, the mess of rapid success often pushes them toward bureaucracy. Rules pile up, layers of managers appear, and the fun drains away. What once felt like freedom now feels like mountains of paperwork. That's when creativity and entrepreneurial spirit fade. The alternative isn't chaos, it's discipline. George Rathman, founder of Amgen, put it best. Bureaucracy exists to manage incompetence. With the right people, you don't need it. What you need is a culture where freedom and responsibility go hand in hand. That means setting clear objectives and holding people to them without excuses. Done well, this kind of rigor creates real accountability while leaving space for innovation to thrive. The key is not to confuse discipline with tyranny.
The vehicle ahead has
Tyranny
started
rests
moving.
on one leader's power. Discipline rests on shared standards. Rubbermaid and Chrysler stalled after their authoritarian leaders left because control had never been built into the culture. True discipline gives people freedom to act within a clear framework, striking a balance that sustains both order and entrepreneur.
You're coming here?
Yes.
Magkain tayo mamaya.
Sige, pero before 8. Kasi
Ay,
mag-fasting
oo
ako.
pala. Hindi ka pala pwede. Sige na, wag na lang.
Bibigay ko yung, alam mo, yung patch mo.
Anong oras ka? Kasi pasyente man ako. Kami nga.
Malapit na ako.
Ha?
Malapit na ako.
The
Traffic lang.
vehicle ahead has started moving.
Andito na ang pasyente eh.
Ay, sige lang. Okay lang naman. Abot ko na lang.
Kanino iaabot?
Kung sino available dyan. Or...
Hindi pwede ka!
Andihintayin kita.
Kumayat ako 7, 1 hour to.
Kaya yan.
Ha?
Kaya yan. Malapit na ako dito sa traffic light.
Saan traffic light?
Dito sa may Kingdom Tower. Ay, Kingdom Hospital. Traffic.
Ano ba yung nakalagay? Saan ba yung nakalagay?
Hindi ko naman ano ko na lang. Lagay ko sa plastic. Yan.
Ah, tawag dito ano, ilagay mo na lang sa plastic na hindi makita. Tapos, ibigay mo na lang dito sa may reception.
Sige.
Si reception sa taas.
Sa taas, yung pinag-aanoan natin sa may laser. Sige.
Yung hindi na hindi makikita.
Okay.
Let mo ko food. I'm hungry.
Anong gusto mo?
Ano na lang, hotdog. Malapit ka na, di ba? Kingdom Tower.
Makto sige. Peri-peri.
Peri-peri.
I know.
Nucor, a once small steel maker that grew into an industry leader, proved how powerful this balance can be. CEO Ken Iverson kept the structure simple and tied everyone's rewards directly to results. No executive perks and no separation. Leaders and workers ate in the same cafeterias and flew coach. Insiders later said 80% of Nucor's success came from culture, not technology. Shared discipline replaces bureaucracy with purpose. In that environment, people have the freedom to achieve more than they imagine. The technology of greatness. When used right, technology becomes an accelerator of momentum, not a creator of it. Jim Collins. At first glance, you might expect technology to be the driving force of greatness, but the research told a different story. Technology usually came later, once a company had clarity about its hedgehog concept. The pattern was consistent. First, figure out what you can truly be the best at, then choose only the technologies that make that flywheel spin faster. One example of this is Walgreens. By the late 1990s, online retail was exploding, and everyone was hyping e-commerce as the future of pharmacies. Drugstore.com looked like the hot new thread. Many predicted Walgreens would be left behind. But Walgreens didn't panic. Focused on convenience and profit per visit, it built its website to support stores with refills and easy pickup. Technology simply reinforced its core concept. Drugstore.com, by contrast, had technology but no hedgehog concept. It chased the idea of being the online pharmacy without anchoring itself in something it could truly dominate. Without that clarity, the shiny tech wasn't enough. Walgreens not only survived the digital wave, it thrived, delivering massive returns while Drugstore.com piled up losses, cut jobs, and watched its stock collapse to a fraction of its peak. It's easy to get distracted by hype. Focus first on what truly makes you great, then bring in technology only when it helps you go faster. Avoid the doom loop. If you diligently and successfully apply each concept in the framework, and you continue to push in a consistent direction on the flywheel, accumulating momentum step by step and turn by turn, you will eventually reach breakthrough. Jim Collins. For good to great companies, breakthroughs rarely came from one big moment. They built momentum like a flywheel, steady pushes, one after another, until the wheel spun faster and faster. There was no single program or magic day. It was a buildup of consistent effort that eventually produced a visible breakthrough. Nucor captured this perfectly. In 1975, Iverson told a colleague they could one day be the most profitable steel company in America. He couldn't say when, but if they just kept doing the right things, the result would come. 2 decades later, it did. By patiently building culture, sticking to discipline, and reinvesting profits, Nucor surpassed every other steel company in profitability. People didn't need slogans to stay motivated. They could see the momentum for themselves and wanted to be part of it. Companies that never made the leap showed the opposite pattern. The research team called it the doom loop. Warner Lambert is one example. In 1979, it claimed it would become a leading consumer products company. A year later, it pivoted to pharmaceuticals, aiming to outdo Merck and Lilly. By 1981, it reversed course again, chasing diversification. Each shift meant throwing the wheel in a new direction before it had a chance to build speed. The result was wasted effort and no lasting momentum. Don't look for miracle breakthrough moments. Keep pushing in a consistent direction, guided by a clear understanding. Over time, momentum itself will become your greatest motivator. Wrapping up, Collins and his team's 5-year study revealed that greatness grows from consistent, disciplined effort rather than sudden breakthroughs. The companies that made the leap pressed past comfort and kept moving in one direction until momentum took over. Their leaders weren't celebrities. They combined humility with determination and measured success by results, not recognition. With the right people in place, strategy became flexible and resilient. Clarity came from finding the overlap of passion, economic drivers, and potential. The hedgehog concept that guided their every choice. From there, culture became the safeguard. Instead of bureaucracy or authoritarian control, they built systems where freedom and accountability coexisted. Technology mattered too, but only as a tool to speed up progress already in motion. What separated lasting success from failure was momentum. The small, steady pushes that built into an unstoppable force contrasted sharply with the doom loop of companies that lurched from one idea to the next without direction. Lasting progress comes from a few steady practices, choose people carefully, keep decisions anchored in what truly matters, and make discipline part of daily work. Stay with that direction long enough, and the results will compound in ways quick fixes never can. We hope you enjoyed this read. If it made you think or smile, consider leaving us a rating and sharing your thoughts. Your input helps us make the app even better. Excited for more? Test your knowledge with a quiz and dive into your next title. Up next, another summary we think you'd like.
Bluetooth mode.
And because exercise had no adverse side effects for most people, it had a more favorable risk-benefit ratio than drugs. Michael Joseph Gross. In a clinical trial led by Nalan Singh and Maria Fiataroni at Harvard, a group of adults aged 60 to 84 with moderate to severe depression trained with weights 3 times a week for 10 weeks. They worked hard, using 80% of their 1-rep max, and trained muscles across the legs, chest, and back. After just 10 weeks, 14 out of the 16 people who listed weights no longer met the clinical criteria for depression. Symptoms dropped by over 50% in nearly 60% of the group. That's the same benchmark used to measure the success of antidepressant medications. What made this even more compelling was that the participants got physically stronger too, by an average of 33%. Meanwhile, the control group, which only took part in health education classes, lost about 2% of their strength. The antidepressant effect wasn't a fluke or a placebo. It lasted, even when participants continued training on their own afterward. The results showed something researchers hadn't seen at this level before. High-intensity resistance training could treat depression as effectively as medication. For some people, even more effectively. And unlike most drugs, lifting weights came with no harmful side effects. Resistance training has also been linked to lower risks of death, 46% lower from heart disease when combined with aerobic exercise, 28% lower from cancer, and 40% lower overall. It's been shown to help control blood sugar in people with diabetes, reduce inflammation, and even slow muscle loss from chronic kidney disease. For many conditions, mental or physical, progressive strength training offers a powerful, underused option. It's not a cure-all, but for a lot of people, it works better than anyone expected. The unwritten prescription. Even in the rare instances when clinical guidelines designate exercise as part of a first-line treatment, as for osteoarthritis, many doctors ignore the guidance to prescribe exercise and only prescribe drugs. Michael Joseph Gross. Many doctors are aware that exercise can prevent and treat disease, yet most don't prescribe it. One major reason is that they're not trained to. Medical schools rarely require courses on exercise, and resistance training is almost entirely left out. Most physicians are taught to manage conditions with medication, not movement. That gap matters. Even when research shows that strength training is more effective than drugs for certain conditions, it's often ignored. In one study on osteoarthritis, nearly every doctor prescribed painkillers. Fewer than half recommended exercise. Maria Fiataroni Singh, now a physician and researcher in Sydney, is working to change this. At her clinic, exercise isn't an afterthought. It's a formal prescription. Her team treats strength training like medicine, with specific movements, proper form, and progressive difficulty. This approach helps older adults rebuild strength, walk better, avoid falls, and even improve brain health. Telling someone to be more active isn't enough.
Bluetooth mode.
Say this is more than a missed opportunity. It's an ethical failure. Withholding a proven intervention like strength training, they argue, is like skipping essential treatment for heart disease or stroke. Fiataroni Singh still sees patients twice a week in Sydney. For those lucky enough to reach her clinic, it's life-changing. But for most, this kind of care doesn't exist yet. Until it does, knowing what strength training can do, and asking for it, may be the only way to get the help that medicine still too often overlooks. Wrapping up. Muscle is central to how your body works, helping you move, think, stay balanced, and recover. It supports your joints, protects your bones, and communicates directly with your brain and organs through chemical signals. Still, most people don't give it much attention until they're injured, in pain, or slowing down. Much of daily life no longer demands physical effort. Chairs, cars, and screens keep us still. Over time, muscles weaken. Not because they have to, but because they're not used. That decline isn't inevitable. Even in advanced age, muscle can be rebuilt. With the right training, older adults have gained back strength, mobility, and independence, sometimes in just a few weeks. Strength training also improves mental health. Studies show it can reduce depression symptoms as well as medication, while also making people physically stronger and more capable. It lowers the risk of heart disease, diabetes, and early death. These aren't fringe benefits. They're outcomes supported by decades of research. Despite all this, most doctors don't mention it. Medical training largely ignores muscle, and healthcare systems rarely make space for prescribing movement. Even when clinical guidelines recommend it, strength training is often skipped in favor of pills. That gap has consequences. You don't need permission to start. Strength isn't limited to age, gender, or background. A few basic movements, done regularly, can protect your health and improve how you live. The tools are simple. What matters is using them, starting now, and keeping at it.
We hope you enjoyed this read. If it made you think or smile, consider leaving us a rating and sharing your thoughts. Your input helps us make the app even better. Excited for more? Test your knowledge with a quiz and dive into your next title.
Up next,
Up next, another summary we think you'd like. Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg. 3 simple elements. You can change your life by changing your behaviors. You know that. But what you may not know is that only 3 variables drive those behaviors. BJ Fogg. Katie woke up at 4:30 a.m. every day with the best intentions. She'd set her alarm early to work out before her demanding job as an executive. But within seconds of turning off her phone alarm, she'd find herself scrolling Facebook, sometimes for an entire hour. Her workout plans would vanish, leaving her frustrated and guilty. Yet this same woman effortlessly maintained a perfect desk tidying routine every evening without even thinking about it. Both behaviors follow the Fogg behavior model. B equals MAP. All behavior happens when 3 elements converge: motivation, your desire; ability, your capacity; and prompt, your cue. It's a universal principle that explains everything from the smallest daily habits to major life changes. When Fogg donated to the Haiti earthquake victims via text while working out, all 3 elements align. He was highly motivated to help. Texting back was simple from his elliptical machine. And the Red Cross prompt, a text message asking for donations, came at the perfect moment. But what if they'd called asking for his credit card number instead? His wallet was in the car. Suddenly, the behavior became nearly impossible despite his strong motivation. What makes this model powerful is how motivation and ability work like teammates. When one is weak, the other must compensate. Extreme motivation can drive people to incredible feats, like a mother fighting off a bear to save her child. But when you can't change motivation or ability, removing the prompt becomes your best first move. Fogg proved this when he found tempting snacks in his Austin hotel room. Rather than fight his craving, he simply removed the prompt, hiding the basket in a TV cabinet. By morning, he'd forgotten about it. Katie applied the same logic. She could have deleted her Facebook account or removed the app from her phone, but those felt too extreme. Instead, she moved her phone to the kitchen overnight and bought an old alarm clock. And once she eliminated the scrolling distraction, her existing workout plans naturally kicked in. Changing behavior isn't about willpower. It's about recognizing that 3 universal elements drive all human actions. Why motivation fails? Here's the unfortunate thing. Most people believe motivation is the true engine of behavior change. BJ Fogg. A bank wanted customers to build a $500 emergency fund. Their website featured expert advice and data about financial disasters, from unexpected car repairs to plumbing emergencies. When asked what behavior they were requesting, the project leader answered, "Save $500 for emergencies." Fogg challenged the team playfully. "Each of you save $500 right now." They laughed and got his point immediately. You can't instantly create $500 any more than you can lose 12 pounds at dinner tonight. The bank's mistake reveals a deeper confusion between outcomes and behaviors that sabotages most change efforts. This confusion explains why almost 100 million people enroll in online courses each year, but less than 10% finish. They start excited about the outcome, but lack specific behaviors to get there. The bank team shifted approaches entirely. Instead of motivating people to save money, they brainstormed specific actions customers could do. Calling the cable company to reduce service, emptying pocket change into an emergency jar each evening, or holding a garage sale and banking the proceeds. We treat motivation like a reliable
Bluetooth mode.
shifting throughout days and seasons. A teenager begs her parent for a week to attend an Ariana Grande concert, then declares the day before that she doesn't want to go anymore because her best friend canceled. So how do you create lasting change without relying on fickle motivation? Fogg breaks change into 3 distinct levels. Aspirations are your big dreams, financial security, or better health. Outcomes are what you can measure, such as saving $500 or losing 12 pounds. Behaviors are actions you can take today, like calling your cable company to reduce your subscription or eating an apple. Lasting change requires moving beyond motivation's false promises and matching yourself with behaviors you genuinely want to do and can realistically accomplish even on difficult days. Start small. While small might not be sexy, it is successful and sustainable. BJ Fogg. Most of us believe breaking bad habits or building new ones requires dramatic action. Stopping completely overnight, selling everything, going all in. But this approach doesn't work because big changes are painful, and people don't do painful things for very long. The motivation that gets us started always fades, leaving us stuck in what Fogg calls the burst and bust cycle. Periods when we're really motivated and tackle big goals, followed by giving up completely when that energy disappears. The solution is focusing on ability instead of motivation. When creating habits, ask yourself, what makes this behavior hard to do? Your answer will involve at least one of 5 things. Do you have enough time? Do you have enough money? Are you physically able to do it? Does it require a lot of mental energy? Does it fit into your daily routine? Or do you need to make big adjustments? Your weakest area determines how hard the behavior feels. For example, if you want to do 20 push-ups every day, several things work against you. It takes a lot of time, demands real physical strength, and requires serious mental energy to push through discomfort. This combination means you won't do it consistently because you're only motivated sometimes. But change it to 2 push-ups against a wall, and everything becomes easier. It takes almost no time, requires very little strength, needs almost no mental energy, and fits into any routine. When you make a behavior this easy, motivation barely matters. Fogg learned this himself when he couldn't floss regularly. His solution? Floss just 1 tooth after brushing. Within 2 weeks, he was flossing all his teeth twice daily. The reason this works is simple. Ability is more reliable than motivation because it's something you can actually control. Whether the change you want is big or small, tiny is where you start. The prompt truth. Prompts are the invisible drivers of our lives. BJ Fogg. Every day, hundreds of prompts trigger your actions without you realizing it. The stoplight turns green. You accelerate. Your phone buzzes. You check it. A notification appears. You click. No behavior happens without a prompt. Most people struggle with poorly designed prompts. We write reminders on our hands, set alarms that go off at inconvenient times, or rely on our notoriously unreliable memory to remember important tasks. When these strategies fail, we blame ourselves for lacking willpower instead of recognizing the real problem: bad prompt design. There are 3 types of prompts in your life. Person prompts rely on your internal memory and bodily cues. Your bladder reliably reminds you to use the bathroom. Your grumbling stomach prompts you to eat. These survival behaviors trigger urgent, unmistakable signals. Context prompts include sticky notes, phone alerts, and environmental cues. You can write on your bathroom mirror with a dry erase marker or put your ring on the wrong finger as reminders. These work fine for remembering things like doctor appointments. But when you use too many, they stop working. You either feel stressed or stop noticing them entirely. Since internal memory fails and external reminders overwhelm, action prompts offer a better approach, using existing behaviors as triggers for new habits you want to build. Instead of hoping you'll remember to floss, you attach it to something automatic, like brushing your teeth. Rather than setting another alarm for doing your stretching and exercise, you connect it to starting your coffee maker each morning. For Fogg, doing 2 push-ups after using the bathroom became an effortless daily habit that eventually scaled to 50 push-ups. This approach works because you build on what's already automatic. You already have dozens of reliable daily behaviors: putting your feet on the floor when you wake up, hanging up your coat, and putting your head on a pillow at night. Each represents an opportunity to anchor a new habit, and your daily life becomes the prompt system without relying on reminders that fail you. Habit growth. By understanding how our habits grow and what our role is in the growth process, we can reliably design for the change, the transformation we want in our life. BJ Fogg. At 43, Sukumar, an IT worker, realized he'd been trying to lose weight for 17 years without success. His desk job caused back and neck pain, made worse by the extra weight around his middle. Every crash diet and ambitious workout plan ended the same way. Back in his chair with a bag of chips, feeling sore and defeated. Then 2 tiny push-ups after brushing his teeth changed everything. Why did this work when everything else failed? Building lasting habits works like tending a garden. You need proper planning, gentle care for small sprouts, and patience as roots grow strong. When you do it right, habits grow and spread without constant struggle. Once your habits take root, they scale in 2 ways. Some get bigger over time. Sukumar's 2 push-ups eventually became 50, and his 5-second plank stretched to 5 minutes. Others spread into related areas. Sukumar began cutting his portion sizes and switching from white to brown rice, changes that happened from his new way of thinking about himself as a healthier person. Making this growth happen requires learning 5 skill sets. First, behavior crafting helps you pick and adjust habits, knowing how many new habits to try at once and when to add more. Second, self-insight shows you which changes will actually matter to you and connect to your bigger goals. Third, process teaches you when to push beyond tiny and when to scale back based on what feels comfortable. Fourth, context means redesigning your surroundings to make good habits easier while removing obstacles. Finally, mindset means embracing a new identity and staying open to progress. You don't need to learn everything at once to see real progress. Who says, start small, be patient with yourself, and remember that you can learn to change just like you learned any other skill in your life. Habit master plan. When you create a host of positive changes, you move closer to the person you want to become. BJ Fogg. Most people attempt to eliminate bad habits through sheer willpower, tackling their worst behaviors directly and expecting immediate results. This approach typically fails because it treats habit change like breaking something rather than systematically untangling it. And bad habits are like knotted ropes. You can't undo them all at once by pulling harder. Instead of fighting the knot, Fogg's behavior change master plan works with it through 3 phases. The first phase involves creating new positive habits in areas unrelated to your problem. For example, if you struggle with sugar cravings, consider starting with exercise or developing productivity habits instead. This builds what Fogg calls skills of change, without the emotional weight of your actual problem area. As you accumulate positive habits, your identity begins shifting towards someone who makes good choices. And this new identity naturally crowds out behaviors that no longer fit. Once you've built those skills, the second phase targets specific behaviors rather than abstract goals. For example, instead of stop eating junk food, you focus on precise actions like stop buying pastries at the coffee shop. Fogg suggests 3 approaches here. Eliminate the prompt by redesigning your environment, avoid situations that trigger the habit, or make the behavior harder to perform. For example, for social media habits, you might turn off notifications, put your phone in airplane mode, or create complex passwords that force you to think before logging in. The final phase involves swapping one habit for another, but only when the methods from the previous phases don't work. You need to pick a replacement that's both more appealing and easier than your old habit. Here's a parenting example. If you want to stop scolding your teenage daughter for being careless, say something positive. When she leaves the refrigerator door open, instead of yelling, "Shut the door for the millionth time," you say, "I'm glad you're eating a healthy snack." You use the same trigger but channel it differently. Instead of trying to break bad habits through willpower, you systematically work through the specific conditions that make them happen. This approach turns habit change from a constant struggle into a problem you can actually solve. Change together. We live and work with others, and every change has a general effect on everyone for better or worse. BJ Fogg. Mike's 21-year-old son, Chris, had dropped out of college and couldn't do basic things like clean up after himself. Every morning, Chris would use the coffee maker and leave the dirty filter inside. This small thing drove Mike crazy. When he asked Chris to clean it, Chris would get angry, storm off to his room, and play video games. Mike felt like he was failing as a father, and the tension was suffocating everyone in the house. When families or teams face these tough situations, there are two ways to create change: the ringleader and the ninja. Ringleaders openly lead change efforts by getting everyone together. A family ringleader might propose that everyone eat more fresh fruits and vegetables, then work through solutions on how to achieve that. At work, a ringleader manager might run team meetings to tackle problems together, asking what makes daily tasks difficult and brainstorming fixes with everyone involved. Ninjas work quietly without telling people what they're doing. The spouse who wants their partner to exercise might ask what makes daily exercise difficult. When the partner mentions a lack of time, the ninja suggests exercising just 10 minutes each day. They might quietly set out yoga mats before bed or suggest dancing to one disco song each morning, making change feel natural rather than forced. Mike became a ninja. Instead of demanding Chris clean the entire coffee filter properly, he asked for just one tiny step: remove the filter and put it on the counter. Chris agreed to this simple request, and the next morning there was the filter sideways and spilling grounds on the counter. Mike said thank you instead of criticizing the mess. Within weeks, Chris was cleaning and replacing the filter without being asked. Both approaches work because they focus on making behaviors easier rather than demanding more willpower. Whether you lead openly or work behind the scenes, the secret is helping people feel successful with tiny steps that gradually build into meaningful transformation. Wrapping up, lasting change isn't about forcing yourself into a new life overnight. It's about understanding how
AUX mode. AUX mode. Bluetooth mode.
different areas of life. This gradual spread is what transforms not only routines, but identities. Changing unhelpful behaviors also means approaching them with a strategy rather than brute force. Instead of fighting habits head on, we can redesign our environment, make the old behavior harder, or replace it with something better. And when change involves others, we can lead openly or influence quietly. What matters most is creating a success that feels achievable. Taken together, these principles show us that transformation isn't a single leap, but a series of gentle steps. By respecting the science of behavior and permitting ourselves to start tiny, we build habits that last and move steadily toward the person we want to become. We hope you enjoyed this read. If it made you think or smile, consider leaving us a rating and sharing your thoughts. Your input helps us make the app even better. Excited for more? Test your knowledge with a quiz and dive into your next title. Up next, another summary we think you'd like.
Trial by Franz Kafka. The door that never opens. Right from the moment two strange men walk into Joseph K's bedroom on his 30th birthday, no one really knows what's happening. The guards arrest K but can't tell him what he's charged with. They don't even know which law they're enforcing. The inspector in charge knows even less, calling himself just a marginal figure in K's case. That confusion runs all the way up the chain. K's lawyer, Huld, spends months on a first petition that never gets finished because he has nothing concrete to argue against. The charges stay a mystery. The law itself stays hidden. Huld explains that court proceedings aren't public. The indictment isn't available to the defense, and the lower-level judges have no idea what happens in the higher courts. They're all fumbling in the dark, pretending to understand a system that nobody can see. The prison chaplain tells K about a man from the country who spends his entire life waiting at a door to the law. The doorkeeper won't let him in, warning about even more powerful doorkeepers inside. The man waits and waits, bribes the doorkeeper, grows old, and never gets past that first entrance. Only as he's dying does he learn the door was meant for him alone. The law was always inaccessible. Everyone who claims they can help K, his lawyer, the court painter Titorelli, various court officials, admits the highest judges remain invisible. No one has seen a true acquittal. No one reads the actual law. The real seat of authority is always somewhere else, higher up, forever out of reach. Free body, captive mind. The court tells Joseph K he's under arrest, then sends him to work. No handcuffs, no cell, no restraint. The inspector says it like it's normal. K can go to the bank, see friends, and live his life. He just happens to be arrested. That contradiction gets in his head from day one. And that's the point. The court doesn't need walls to imprison anyone. K becomes his own jailer, stuck in what-ifs. He even shows up in court for no reason. No one forced him. Yet he's there at 9 on Sunday, wandering a tenement to find the right room. The uncertainty pulls him in. He can't stop thinking about the case, loses focus at work, and spends nights on the office couch replaying every interaction with court officials. Another man who found himself in a similar predicament is a merchant named Block. He's been on trial for 5 years. Nobody locks him up, yet he's liquidated his business, abandoned his life, and basically lives in his lawyer's apartment. He sleeps in a tiny maid's room, reads legal documents he can't understand, and literally drops to his knees when the lawyer speaks. The court didn't chain him. Fear and hope did. Even K's attempts at resistance feed the system. When he tears up a court summons or skips a hearing, those gestures go straight into his file as proof he's difficult. The court turns freedom into a form of torture. Every choice K makes, even to fight back, gets absorbed into the case. The trial becomes his life. Exist to exist. K gets his first real shock about the court during his initial Sunday inquiry. He's giving a passionate speech condemning the corrupt system, feeling pretty good about the scattered applause he's getting from the crowd. Then he notices something odd. Everyone in the audience has badges on their collars. Every single person listening to him works for the court. The whole scene is a performance. The court watching itself, applauding itself, and quietly recording K's outrage as evidence against him.